Hello. Thank you guys for tuning in. So late for you guys. I'm Katie Room from Periapsis Press.
Hello. I'm a Florida woman that just got off of her work shift. Who will sing the high heaven of all the alternate media, unlike Conservative Incorporated?
Likewise. Oh, it's
They
good to see you guys all in the chat.
they be so useless. Ah,
Well, let's talk about some alternative media then.
yes. And,
Uh,
don't worry, if you want whimsy, this book definitely does have whimsy.
Gun Magus. Magus? That's how you pronounce that, right?
I'm pretty sure.
I think I
But then
pronounced it
again,
wrong last night.
but then again, I murder the English language because I'm Florida woman, so therefore. Mm-hmm.
I don't have my notebook set up. For the first time today, I made sure to tweet about it and post it all of my places. And then I forgot to get my notebook where I take my notes for my reviews.
That is fine. I did make a few little notes of my own, but knowing me, where did I put it? Wait, oh yes, that's right. My little scrapbook thing I bring to work in case I get any ideas.
I used to have one of those.
Yes.
It's a must.
And honestly, the way this book opens, it's like I'm the kind of reader where don't tempt me with like character study right from the get-go because I don't know your character yet.
Yeah.
So if you open it like this, where it's opened on a little bit of a mystery, you don't know who this person is or why they're doing the things they're doing, and it's like, oh, then you can slowly bring the reader into like, will you care about these characters? Eventually, yes. But that's the reason why so much kind of slice of life stuff doesn't really immediately engage me, especially with the way the postmodern does it. It's like I'm not attached to characters that are just sitting around a table talking.
Yep. Yep. This book definitely opens with a bang.
And then some more bang bang.
Yes.
Infinite gun works.
You don't need it to be much more than these are the bad guys and this is the good guy. And that's it. But like we'll just go along for the ride and we'll get to actually
Well, yeah,
you
and you can
know
let. It's okay to let people see what your character's about in bits and pieces. Like you don't have to flood them all at once with some
right.
humongous backstory. Eh,
And there really isn't a whole lot of backstory in this. Um
no, it's basically made to where you can pick up and read it and have a lot of fun.
yep.
And
Yes.
it's okay to make books like that too. They
Yes.
don't all have to be like a Tolkien level backstory or mythos.
Yeah.
You could
And
just
this
make it
this
fun.
one of the 3 that we read this summer was probably the most like a summer read to, or it felt most like that to me, where it was just about the gimmicks and the action and the fun, and it was a pretty fast read
Oh
too.
yeah. You didn't really have to like ponder the wonders of the universe. It's like no, you have a man that somehow got transported, and not only that, but if I remember correctly, he's a redhead.
Oh, I don't
I
I
think.
it could have been.
Just I might have misread that early on, but I pictured him as a feisty redhead.
That could be. I didn't
uh,
even think about it. Like
but he
it's
certainly
in
has
there
a
with
lot.
names for me.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he certainly has a lot of feisty friends with him in different ways, and
Yes.
like, okay, the lamp shading on like here. Oh, look at all the waifus, the
Yeah.
field of waifus. But it was done more in a way of like we're just poking fun at this particular trope rather than reveling in it.
Yeah.
It
We each time we meet a new girl, we talk about what she's wearing, and it's always kind of an anime outfit. but they're all just nice girls.
And then, of course, you have another put upon bunny man.
Yes, yes. What did you think of this variation?
I think it's pretty funny because he's trying to explain like this is how this world works, and it's like, oh yes, he's climbing the paths of power, but it looks like they can take the weapons and kind of morph them and do different things with them. But
Yeah,
but the poor detective is just like, what's happening here? I mean, he doesn't make him completely oblivious, but a lot of times when people are iseki'd somewhere else, they acclimate pretty quick. I mean, he still acclimates, but it's not like he's one with everything instantly. Like some of the
no,
more lit RPG based stuff kind of does that, where it's like somehow the protagonist has super duper special adaptability. I mean, I get it. So that way you don't have to worry about training montages, but you can actually present training in a different way too.
yeah, yeah,
Like you want to see a speed dungeon run? Look at the first couple opening chapters of this thing. Killer frogs, the salad from Doom. It's like it's like
yep.
the bacon. Yes, very Bardaxian of him. But then not only that, you got like a little mini boss, and then you meet the spider girl.
Yep.
It's like one thing after another.
Spider Girl was my favorite.
And honestly, I like the idea of like some of their floating cities, like kind of like how they had that in the Miyazaki films, Laputa. Like where
Yeah,
it's just this city in the sky thing. I'm like,
yeah.
that was a nice little touch.
I I don't know if I said in my review, I think I tried to avoid it too much. But it did have like a little bit of a steampunky vibe with the flying ships and the floating islands and the train and the guns. Um, but it wasn't. Um,
It's balancing like he wants to generate enough tension where people who get tension through the narrative, like will they or won't they die, will be satisfied, but then also people like me were like, I just want to see how they MacGyver themselves out of this situation. I'm like, oh, I'm entertained too.
and there was MacGyvering, just picking up stuff and turning it into guns.
Like Infinite Gun Works. There's a reason why I kind of make that joke, because it kind of reminded me of like that thing in the one anime where it's like, what's his face? It's the one where the King Arthur is actually, anime waifu.
Oh, Fate? Is that
Saber.
Fate?
Yeah, Fate Stay Night or something like that.
Yeah.
It's reminding me that other guy, the one that was the future version of the main protagonist, but I'm trying to remember his name. Dressed
Oh,
all
it's been
in red.
ages.
Yeah. It's like, here, how will the gun morph now? You know, but that's the reason why I appreciate the fact that this book didn't try to do this is brand meets brand kind of comparison marketing.
Yeah.
There you go. Draco in there with the win there. Archer, there we go.
There it is.
Oh, but man, the poor guy barely had time to rest before it's like, oh, guess what? Here's another woman that falls in your lap. Have fun, Jericho. Have fun. Oh, but he does it in such a way where it's not. You don't get the sense that he's trying to be exploitive or like how you put it with the male version of floating ab books, aka harems.
Yep, yep.
It's doing light satire rather than being literal.
Yeah. You get the sort of fan servicey type things where the main girl, is that Zephyr? Is that her
Yeah.
name?
Yep.
Where she wanders in and thinks it's her room and starts taking off her clothes. But cut off. Everything stays modest.
Yeah, because Ken is a classy guy. He
Yes.
genuinely is. Like he is established in the first few chapters as somebody that has decent morals,
Yeah.
and he went out of his way to again save a kid right from the get go at his own personal expense. That's what you kind of expect out of a more traditional masculine character, that they will protect the innocent and those that
Right.
can't protect themselves.
Yeah. And he wasn't with like the romance aspect. With isekai and harem in general, it can go sort of two ways. One with like a complete degenerate, of course, and then the other is being like clueless because as soon as you choose, that takes away the who will he pick aspect of the like the draw of that. Um, so they kind of have to go either of those routes, and LaPointe was just like, nah. Clearly, there's a good girl here, and we're gonna set up early on that
It's like here's
Jericho.
the trope of there's the best girl that the guy is technically already picked,
Yeah,
even if he hasn't fully known it yet.
right. Yeah, Jericho isn't an idiot, and he's not a lecher.
Although here I'm gonna go take a look. It's scrolling backwards, but I gotta figure out. Let me see, where did I read it accurately that he does have red hair? Because
Got a little mind worm there.
actual gingers are in short supply nowadays. Let's see. No, that's the part where he thinks he's dead, but no, he got summoned. Let's see. He had a nice red car, yes, but let's see. Did I read it accurately? That's the big Jeopardy question. Oh yes, Ken scratched at his red hair and flinched. Yes, I was correct. He is a
You were right.
Souls. Sorry, South Park. That's the big line I remember, but he has a lot of soul. You could almost say he has a few paladin type tendencies.
Sure, yeah. Yep. Boy, that's a can of worms.
Yeah, you know what, Draco? I think this book will definitely be up your alleyway for sure. I'm biased, but I think he should win it. Yes, because these kinds of adventures, just something that's simple that appeals. It can appeal to women, of course, but it's mainly centered. Like, do you want to just see a guy just do what he does best?
Yeah,
he's not an expert in every field or anything like that, but he shoot good. He shoots good. He does have decent instincts. But this book does what most people should do with when it comes to character skills is, if you don't want to get the Mary Sue, Marty Stew, whatever situation, break up specialized skills in between the whole party of characters, so that way they have to support each other.
Yes, yeah.
All of these guys have to support each other, like like some are in a pure support role, some are in Daka role, some are the tank, you know. If you want to put any kind of tabletop terms to it.
Oh, well, if it works, right?
Yep. Somebody's got to keep taking the hits and keep on ticking.
To talk just briefly about the contest, it's like a drawing. If you guys go to any of the links in the description and leave a comment on any of the posts or articles about Gun Magus, the review, the excerpt, or the interview that we did with NR LaPoint, you'll be entered into a drawing. And I'll do that tomorrow morning, probably.
But and here's something. Okay, the Daka thing is a joke. I'm trying to remember where I picked it up from. My brain's pretty much fried, but it is a known meme. But unlimited Daka, because his magical ability as the Gun Magus is he has unlimited ammo, provided he still has mana to recharge it. So that's one way to take care of the fact that this world doesn't have gunpowder and firearms in terms of how we know them.
Right.
Make it magic bullets. Whee!
And excuse me. It was kind of fun how he wasn't the only one with firearms. Um, because the enemies have
Yeah, the
kind of
the cloaked duo that initially tried to do nasty things to Lime.
yeah, yeah,
And I gotta admit, sometimes simple names do stick with people a bit better, and it kind of like you look at it, it's like, okay, so Spider Girl is Pock, and,
yeah, yes, Pock, yep.
then you have the pirate lady who's like, I'm Lime. But it works for me.
Yep, me
Sometimes,
too.
sometimes it's just easier to keep track of it because I know right now I need an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of all sorts of characters that are roaming around up with protocol. Oh my!
I really liked Pock. I thought she was a lot of fun.
Oh man! And
She, I liked how they sort of met her in kind of a classic anime style, where at first she was an enemy, and then was sort of wooed.
yes, and then eventually they became friends.
Yeah, yeah,
But in Lime's case, it's like everybody had good reason to not like the lieutenant, big bad evil guy,
yeah,
because he was just making life miserable for everybody. And then, of course, in the Laputa type of cities in the air, um, you know, all
gotta
the
have.
rulers up there weren't exactly with a full deck. So it's just like, just to say, there's just enough little threads in this book where if he decides to go off in a different direction, it's already there for him to work with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He said that he wasn't intending it to be the first in a series, but he certainly left himself a lot of open doors to be able to do that if he likes.
And that's a good balance. Like you can read this one; it's a one and done kind of book setup if you want, but
Yeah,
you still get a beginning, middle, and end, and it caps off nicely.
yeah. Oh, and TJ brought up that the joke that LaPoint had tweeted about, where the sequel would be like something like Gun Harder.
Oh yeah, the villain's completely evil. Uh, yeah, there's no sad sack sappy sympathy story.
Yeah,
This villain, even though he's like more of like a lieutenant initially, makes everybody's life miserable because he am evil, and that's all
yeah,
to it. That's all the motivation you need.
yep, yep. Bad guys. Um, and there's a um an aspect of kind of what David and I were talking about, not last night but the night before, when we were talking about villains. They're like the lawful good and chaotic good, because there are sort of two bad guys, and I don't want to completely spoil it, um, but there's yes, twisty elements, as Marky says.
And that's honestly most of the time, most stories I've had fun with. It's like I really don't need the heroes or the villains to have really complex motivations at all.
Yeah,
So many books try to go over the top with that. The the only thing I have fun with, like in terms of twisty, or is all the fun time travel nonsense I love to put in my stuff, but that's just my personal preference. Um, Everything else is pretty much straightforward. Like certain heroes versus villains are supposed to be direct mirrors of each other on purpose.
yeah, yeah. This one, especially for this story, being that straightforward summer read type feel, just the villain does not have to be super complex to um
I think
to create a good uh tension and exciting climax.
I think maybe it's also because a lot of modern fantasy stuff has the over the top political shenanigans of like whatever the setting is. Like, oh, look how much all these people are backstabbing each other to where you can't even tell who's the actual hero versus the actual villain anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why it's good to just have something that's straightforward on both ends.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
that poor put upon bunny. Wolf, wolf win. he's an epic old man.
And then who is the one of the pirates that shows up towards
Oh,
the end of the book in the last third is a guy too. And
oh
he
Lord,
has it rough too.
God, who was it? Oh, come on, brain, you could do it. Uh, I don't think it was Gallagher. No, no, that's the other guys. Mm-mm-mm. Where are you? I know I had it highlighted at one point. No, that's Mushy is the spider friend to Tupac.
Yep, yep.
God, my brain's not working right now. This is what everybody gets when it's like, wait, uh, I know I highlighted it. Where? No, that's Lime again. Oh, oh, not was it? No, no, I don't think it's Chia. But I kept thinking Chia Pet every time that name came up. Chia.
Oh yeah, the pandan.
Yeah, Chia.
Oh.
Oh no. Oh, but yeah, there's a lot of fun terms thrown around, like different kinds of maguses. And then
Yeah.
every time Ken was there, let's tempt fate and say, "Oh, the enemy certainly would throw this at us." A few moments later,
Yep, yep.
oh,
And the
oh, was it squid?
oh, that might have been it.
Although, to be honest, it was a good way. Every once in a while, when the pirates did pop up, I was thinking a couple episodes of Xena where they were on ships, and then Xena had to do that special neck thing to Gabrielle so she wouldn't get seasick. Yep, I like it when books remind me of other things I enjoy
Me too.
because it does have a certain level of campy that I adored in like Hercules and Xena.
Yeah, it's not like a isekai or an anime that takes itself seriously at all. It's very much leaning into the fun.
Yep. And again, for everybody who is concerned about narrative tension, yes, part of you might realize that there's certain characters that would have a certain level of protection, but honestly, there's still enough tension in it where they're like, oh no, they don't have a health potion? Whatever shall
Right.
they do?
Well, then the other thing about this is if you're comparing it to other stuff in the isekai genre, it's vastly superior to remaking the world in our real world's image with all of the bureaucracy and
Oh, yeah, it kind
sure
of
running water is great, but like
it
there's
skips
also a lot of other junk.
yeah, it skips some of that stuff where it's like come on, it's like somewhere where you can leave your brain behind for like a couple hours and be like, this is fun. This is
Yeah,
all it needs to be.
yeah.
If I was even 10% big as Weber, I'd be still promoting this stuff to high heaven. Maybe one day I will get bigger, but I won't stop
Right, right.
because this is what a lot of people are looking for. It's just we gotta keep going with this stuff. We gotta keep promoting what we can.
Yeah.
And yes, it does have the superversive seal of approval. So I'll be adding that to the lovely entertainment post later on.
DJ says it's a bit of a brain hack too, using the girls.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, It does. He knows when to play into certain tropes. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's a hell. It's just done all in good fun. You don't get a sense that he's subverting anything. What you see is what you get. But there are there are a few twists.
Yep. Oh,
Yep. Again, because it does like what TJ is saying. Even though you know they're not going to die, it appeals to that. How are they going to MacGyver out of this one?
yes. Yep.
I mean, I encountered the same thing, even though Space 1999 had like apocalyptic setup where, oh, the moon's out of orbit and there it goes. They didn't lose a ton of people from the moon base. They really didn't. But that didn't stop the tension from being there because you're like,
Right.
how are they going to get out of these situations?
Yep. Well, and um, one of the draws too, part of tension is not just the like the threat of something bad happening, but the pull of hope of something good happening. So the fact that this is a um, self-contained story is helpful in that regard. Because again, going back to the anime style manga inspiration, you don't always get that. You don't always get that closure of actually meeting the villain face to face and defeating them. Um, you assume that if the writer and the publisher stay together long enough, if they sell enough, then maybe the series will close out at the 300th episode or whatever, or 500 depending. um, but are you still going to stick with it that long?
Yeah, there's like some certain things where it's like sometimes it's just better to have a set amount of activity and you don't need like 300 episodes of them screaming at each other and then Kamehameha. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I would say too that the action scenes didn't drag out. Um sometimes in the pulp rev scene and sometimes in anime, um you get those really long battle sequences where we're talking about fighting, we are fighting.
it's the scene that never ends.
Yep.
On my friends, just like that old lamb chop song.
Yep. And in this book, the action was pretty punchy, and I appreciated that.
Oh yeah, I mean you can still have a pretty interesting fight set up with just a couple of lines.
Yep.
Let your reader use their imagination every once in a while. You don't need like 20, 30 pages of action scene description.
Yep.
No.
Yep. Have you read anything else from LaPoint?
I started reading Chalk.
Okay. I have it on my Kindle, but I haven't started reading it yet.
Well, the biggest thing is I like the fact that you can see it in his other books too. He sprinkles the mystery around, so that way it's a definite pulpy way of getting people to turn the pages.
Yep.
I mean, that's my preferred thing. Like, I like to keep reading about the little mysteries that keep popping up. And eventually, once I'm in a setting long enough, I'm like, oh, I care about this character. I like to see what happens to them.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I would be interested to hear from anybody in the chat if you've read Chalk or any of NR LaPoint's other stuff. How you thought it would compare.
It also proves, hey, it's okay if guys write main female characters too. Because I don't know why they get so much flack on that end when you turn around and you can see there's a lot of women out there that it's like some of them can write guy characters fairly well, but some of them it's like you're just putting what idealized form you want in there, yet you accuse the guys of doing some like similar, but it's from that end it's bad.
Yeah. I think that people overthink gender in novels these days.
Yeah.
I mean, like even even people who are not, counting all of the possible crazy that you can have, even when they're just talking about two. Um, like
Oh boy.
people are people,
Yup.
and sure, there are things that motivate women that don't motivate men, and vice versa. But
But you can overlap. I've seen it. It's okay.
right,
It's
I
like,
mean, it's not like it shouldn't be with outside of the realm of comprehension.
oh, and every time I was talking, I was thinking of the cat from The Last Unicorn. Arr. Yeah. Because I watched The Last Unicorn last night, and I just kept thinking that same accent. I'm like, oh god. Except for female. Oh man. Hmm. Although it's a fun aside, real quick for that movie. Apparently, Christopher Lee argued that certain lines should be in there for Haggard and other characters from the book. So Christopher Lee's always been a champion for accurately adapt these books, please. So that's always nice to know.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man.
We could use a little more of that.
Oh, and it doubly fun is this book is not afraid to say God or religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the Pandans are Catholic, right?
Yep. At least I think if I remember correctly. But, no, I just noticed like as I was reading through it, they were talking about different aspects of religion, but not in like a heavy-handed, this is a Hallmark special kind of way.
Right, right.
Which is another problem a fair amount of so-called conservative writers have. Like I split honestly, like kind of what David Stewart says. Like there's conservative, and then there's optimates. If I remember him saying that a few times, and the more conservative type air quote rhino type setup, yeah, they get a little bit too folksy as well, or like heavy-handed, as the other side does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
The
oh, they.
the sort of the message fiction conversation was happening on Twitter a little bit too. And David and I talked about that too on our stream. Um it's it's all well and good if everybody wants to be preached at, but that doesn't read summer fun to me.
No, in fact, but looking at it in the chat there, yeah, give everyone good motivations, and the readers will fill in the gender distinctions in their heads. Well, in this particular book, they all had very simple, straightforward motivations that you could understand. And
Yeah.
if you want to add more yarns to that later on, then go for it. But
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to get behind, just the standard hero that does want to do good because it's good.
Yes. Yep. And the motivations were pretty straightforward. It was we didn't have to strong arm anybody into helping, except maybe Squid. I don't think he was super enthusiastic, but
I mean, and even though Lime had a pretty typical, like, I want me revenge,
yo,
it eventually, dovetailed into something a lot more digestible, at least for me, because
yeah,
I'm kind of burnt out on, like, I must claim vengeance kind of stories. Because a lot of people, they just get too heavy handed with it, where it's like, geez, remember Hope? Do you remember what that is?
yeah,
It's the reason
yeah,
why I can go back to stuff like the Black Company versus, say, the Martin kind of gray morality sludge fest. And
yeah,
people want heroes to follow.
yeah. There's there's a real problem right now, and um I saw it in Netflix's Sandman, and you see it in the new Wednesday Addams trailers of characters enacting revenge, like just taking it up to 11 to like it's not even eye for an eye. It's just like,
It's over the
you
top.
bumped me, I'm going to obliterate you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's over the top pettiness that you would expect out of middle school girls.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh my god. Oh, if I wanted a soap opera, I'd be watching whatever one's still running after like 60 years.
Rings of power. I mean, what?
Please don't hate watch. Please don't hate watch. Please don't hate watch.
I don't have an Amazon subscription, or I probably would be hate watching, to be honest, just to be able to recommend alternatives, because that's how I'm going to do it from now on.
And there's one thing, other fun thing about this book. It's like most of the people who especially are doing lit RPGs, they make their system so rigid. Like, this is how this evolves. This is how that evolves. It's like, no, this book basically throw item onto the wall. What can it mix with? Oh, that. Do you want to do aerial combat with the bunny? We could do that. He jump good. He's like that crazy lancer jumping from some of the old Final Fantasy games where it takes him forever to come back down to earth.
That is exactly what I thought of.
It hurt.
Like, where is he? He's completely gone. And then comes back. It's like, just thinking about my Game Boy? Is that what I had?
Oh, man.
My tiny screen.
Okay. Oh no. Why must you mix Sabrina the Teenage Addams from Riverdale? Man, they can't even get campy Sabrina the Teenage Witch anymore. Salem stole that show, that puppet cat. Live on forever, you fabulous feline.
Oh man. Well, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about, and I don't remember if you were saying this during the stream or not, or before when we were talking,
It's okay.
about normies talking about,
Oh, it's
Sandman.
Sandman. Yes.
They're very cued into this kind of stuff, and if we can, I'm not saying that we should give Amazon money or give them our time and attention, because they don't necessarily deserve it. But if we can come up with concrete alternatives, that's going to help. Then we can shift the focus, because people are excited about the possibilities, not the actual show itself, because it never lives up. But people get excited about what it could be,
Yep, but again, that's why these guys have a stranglehold on the entertainment stuff, and why you shouldn't hate watch. It just gives them more fuel.
Yeah.
Oh, but here's I found this particularly funny. When did you promise this young woman anything? Rolfin asked. Earlier, when she broke into my room and held a sword to my face, Ken thought. And he just keeps saying, shrug. Earlier.
It happened when you weren't here.
I mean, because technically, let's see, he fell over Zephyr trying to protect her. He fell over Pock trying to move around away from the bear gator / crocodile. That was a fun image. But the way the powers worked, that also helps add to how do they get out of that situation kind of tension, because sure, they can use these powers, but they have to wait for some of them to recharge.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of nice, instead of like what, like you were saying, with hard and fast rules. or even more detailed, like RPG elements. There was, you have a like a skill. So instead of levels and multiple skills gained, stuff like that, you just have a skill. And then
stuff can evolve, or if you like God, the poor put upon bun man, and I like that bunyan, their name for that race. It's like bunyan. But he was saying like, yes, you could sometimes meditate, and then you will learn a new part of your like skill tree.
yeah,
So he was imparting knowledge about that world, but it wasn't info dump. It made
right.
sense when things were happening.
Yep. And there was like a sense of you can get further additional skills, but like Ken didn't choose them and they weren't detailed. It was like, oh, there's a new thing on my gun, right? Like that was it.
Where did this show up from? Wait, why is the barrel longer? Okay.
Yep.
Oh man, and just again the fact that it's like he's like, oh, what's next? Like zombies? So it's like, no, it's revenants. That's even worse, man. Why do you tempt fate?
Oh man.
But I do
And
like
then
the fact, like a superhero team, they each all their skills bolster each other. You know, like
yeah.
he has this rusty piece of junk sword, and then it's like we can imbue it with ice or whatever else is going on. And I especially found it fun when Pac helped imbue his his bullets with the sticky stuff, so that way it blinded Mr. Crocodile Bear. It's like, yeah, there you go. It's good skill synergy. Woo!
Yep.
Which, what's funny enough, a lot of the lit RPG crowd doesn't really do that as much. You'd think they would, but they
yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Combos and stuff. That's not really a
Uh-oh.
thing that's talked about too much at RPG.
Yeah, it's like
Wow.
even some fantasy, more straight up fantasy books usually have their magic users, overlap a bit more. Like, oh, this guy got wind and this one has fire. Let's make a firestorm.
Yep.
Oh no.
Oh.
And I do like the fact that Lime is constantly like, bunny guy. It's like, yeah, it's the bunny guy. It kind of makes me wonder if we should do like a out of universe like meetup with all sorts of Pulp Rev characters and see what they would do at a bar.
TJ Marquis' card game. Wasn't that an idea for a while? Having different characters from various books. That would be.
Oh, I do like the fact that the airships are quite hefty.
Yeah.
Do you want a Sherman tank that can float? Yes.
And then they were like at first seemed like they were more like ships, and then later they were more. It was like, oh, these are tanks. It wasn't a turn of phrase when he said it was a tank. It is a tank.
Oh man, and I just like the fact that even though they find some of Ken's mannerisms a little bit weird, it doesn't really make him the odd man out. It just makes them wonder. It's like, what kind of world did you come from? And I like the fact that they kind of misspell some of the words that he's talking about, and it's just like, yeah, that's adorable. That's where typos are your friend.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, these what did you call them? Gang stars? Like, what's a gang star? But yes, that's fine. And I still did have a giggle when he gave that little girl in the beginning a $20 bill and her eyes got big. That was my reaction when I was a kid and I got my first 20.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yep.
oh, I could get so many things with
I
it.
am rich.
Although back in my day, you really were rich because like paperback books were only like $3.50.
Yep.
You could still
Well,
get 25-cent candy.
you can still get a lot of books for $20 if you go indie.
Yes,
You
buy indie good. Indies want to entertain.
know, or you could just buy one trad pub book. It's fine,
Oh,
whatever you want, I guess.
the the ebook prices, even like, man, if you look at college what they charge for their ebooks now, oh no, because they got around the hack I got to do in college where you buy the former edition for a fraction of the price on Amazon or something,
Yeah.
and then but the only difference is the chapters were in different orders. But that's better than paying the school additional $300-400. But now it's worse.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's like no. So you know what? I can understand if Ken didn't want to come back to our world.
Mm-hmm.
He got
Yep.
gainfully employed at the end too, which was really funny. It's like, you want to go back to your old job, or you want to, I don't know, do this instead. Uh,
I love how piracy is now gainfully employed.
yes, but what I also like the fact that he didn't make Ken into a knight with sour armor. Like so many people that get jilted in their jobs, like for as far as a story setup, you're like they make them like, oh, I have to learn how to be a normal person again and not so cynical. It's like, no,
Yeah.
right from the get go, Ken is very much a Texas man. Yee-ho!
Yeah. He's not you there's not a whole lot of backstory, but you get the sense that not everything is right in his life. He is he's lost his job, and there isn't anyone in his life that he wishes that he could go back to. Um, but he's not jaded or depressing. Um, because and I think especially YA tends to forget that um, negative people are not fun to hang out with. And so if you have a character for 300 odd pages who is negative, that's not.
Which is most of the trad pub darlings that are shoved in your face all the time. It's like, how can you
Yeah.
follow these people? They're miserable pieces of Sierra the whole time, and it's just like,
Yep.
don't want to read this. No.
Yep. Well, and Sandman is like that, to pick a recent example that I've talked about before, right? It's like you're watching the show and everybody is sad, depressed, bad, or a lecturer.
And the
Well,
thing is, having that for a side character that eventually goes for like a transformative arc, that's fine.
yeah.
Don't make them the main point of view character. You'll find that a lot of people will check out, and the only
Yeah.
ones that might try to finish it are people that are just gluttons for punishment.
Yeah.
Oh yes, Wolfram didn't know what mile per hour was. And Kid didn't know how to translate kilometers. Yes, yeah, I'm trying to go back through and see what I highlighted. It's like, yes, the grand old like U.S. measurements versus everybody else around the world measurements.
I have one that was fun. Since you're not from around here, as if you're trailed off, this might be a little strange. I rode a big vulture, flew in what looked like a Viking ship up to and then away from a giant flying fortress, teamed up with a bunny and a spider girl, and shot a psycho and a six-armed, two-headed monster a bunch, Ken said. I think I can handle strange.
Yeah, man, like it's almost like one thing after another for what, like the initial 10-11 chapters, like where they're getting in and out of various fights. Because one, I think it's also because like once something new ends up in that world, I think it's like worldwide aggro or something. because even our lovely bunny man was like, wait, what is a Gun Magus class? What is this?
I just like how throughout the story he gets his hands on bigger and bigger things to turn into guns.
Yes, if let's just say I do have some characters in my own series where that since they have matter manipulation, they're like, let's go bigger now, yay,
How big can we go?
very big. And it's okay, guys, it's okay to use the word very, even though some people on Twitter are like, cut out every instance of very. It's just a case of flow. Some characters might talk more like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in dialogue, I feel that the rules can be bent a lot more.
Yeah, because if a character is more plain spoken, they might say, "This situation looks very bad." A
Right.
character that has a bigger vocabulary might look at this and this situation is horrible.
Right.
It just depends on the character.
It's gonna change the voice of the character. Um and narrative voice is a thing too. So, you know?
And yes, like even though this isn't in first person narration, you get the sense of each character does have a distinct, mannerisms or talking voice.
Yeah. Yep. It's there's never confusion about which girl is acting or talking. They are pretty distinct and well differentiated.
And yeah, like looking at what Draco's saying, it's okay that characters have a sad past and they can overcome it, but a lot of modern writers, they only have the sad. They don't have the character leaving the pit of sadness. It
Right.
follows.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Sort of
this guy does
wallowing.
not wallow. He
No.
basically he made a character where Ken is a man of action. He's more akin to the old masculine style pulp characters
Yeah.
than not.
Yep. He's someone who acts, and he's um not leaning into his emotional past.
Mainly because it's not really relevant to what's
Right.
happening to him in the
Yeah.
story. You know, here's another one. You're suspicious of her, Zephyr asked. I am naturally suspicious of everyone, except me, Ken said. I was suspicious of you until we slaughtered at many a villain together. The heroes that slay together stay together. So there you have it. That's perfectly fine.
That tickled me funny.
Yes. I mean, honestly, even though some of the older style shows, like I think that's what attracted me to some of them, because you had this group of friends usually that came together to take out the baddie of the week. And they all brought something to the table that made them an effective team.
Yeah.
It's a simple formula, but it works. There's a reason why there's certain kinds of storytelling formulas that keep cropping up, no matter how much it's like, oh, it has to be 100,000% original. Well, you're never going to write a book if you think that way.
One of my all-time favorite quotes is, and I have no idea who said it. You could Google it and you probably would figure it out. But something like, immature artists imitate, mature artists steal, straight out, right?
Yeah, and it's fun. Like, we've all been stealing from each other since the beginning of everything. Oh, and I found the gunblade aspect pretty funny too.
Me too. Yeah.
I flashed back to that moment where I'm like, and so it's Squall and his group in Final Fantasy VIII. Like, I'm grinding for more magical essence to shove in these characters to up their stats. Oh, look, it's the super dog I throw at everyone. Yay! Riona's dog was awesome.
uh,
Nobody can ever change my mind. That dog is awesome. Oh god. Well, the amnesia angle I think is fine if you use it sparingly, like if they have temporary amnesia. But to keep them in the dark the whole time, it's like because people want to pay off of like the character finally discovers X, Y, or Z.
yeah.
Man. Hello, I think it would have been funny is if the rusted weapons would cause God, it starts with a T, torpor.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like in Dragon's Dogma, if you use rusted weapons and you enchant them with other stuff, it causes torpor. It poisons the enemy to where they're like, I'm moving like I'm 100 years old. Oh no! So yes, this book and it honestly does channel a lot of video game kind of elements, but it's not purely stat based like what they do
Right.
in RPGs.
Yeah.
But you can still have a lot of fun with all the little winks and nods that happen.
Yes, there's a lot of those. Wink and nod. Did you catch the part in the ghost train where he sees a book with a picture of a girl holding a chainsaw on the cover?
Oh boy! Like I knew the ghost train from when a certain someone suplexed it, but I didn't realize what the book cover was pertaining to.
I'm assuming that's chalk.
Oh, you know what? Duh.
Because she has a chainsaw, right?
Well, if I remember correctly, or something akin to it, because because the cover does invoke that kind of imagery. But sadly, I was also thinking at the time there was a video game where there was a crazy lady with a chainsaw and it was very cartoony kind of elements.
Sure.
So it's just like sometimes potato. Sometimes you go down one avenue versus the other. Oh, but then again, I'm also only like within like the first 50 pages of chalk, and I've been going back and forth. Like I've been trying to sneak in some reading at work. I've been that busy. It's just like, again, because the grandma moved in, so half of it is like, I am the human remote control. Remember that time when it used to be knobs on the TV? Well, now I'm the remote control for
Yeah.
who doesn't understand streaming services. In terms of like, my parents have Sling, so you can download apps that have different channels like Pluto TV. My grandmother loves EWTN, so I downloaded both of those for her. So now she gets her favorite nun on the TV, and she can listen to mass whenever she wants, and she can even listen to mass around the world.
Oh, fun!
And it's just like, what was it, Mother Francesca, or was this? I'd have to look it up again. But she's a very funny older nun lady that makes my grandmother laugh. So that's all that matters. I'll be in remote control as long as it makes grandma happy. But yeah, all these characters had pretty good dynamic with each other. A lot of books have poisonous dynamics with all the main players or characters, or however you want to set it up, because a lot of them want to go more of a soap opera route. So you'd naturally have more antagonistic characters that way. But no, I like the fact that these guys kind of just click together.
Yeah.
At least eventually. Some a little bit more than others, but they couldn't feed all those spiders. The story would have ended.
Yeah, and I think probably the most animosity between characters, like aside from initially fighting Pock, is probably the Pandan village wanting them to prove themselves. And then
Whimsyland got it. Yeah, it's Mother Angelica. Yes. That's who I was thinking of. Everybody for the win tonight. My scatterbrain. Woo! Oh man, but I like the fact that he doesn't draw out a lot of these chapters. It goes at a pretty good pace, like sometimes 5 to 10 pages,
Yeah.
and gets a lot done. That's what I
Yes.
enjoy about the pulps. It's like, because sad to say, yes, between work and everything else, it's like I have a minuscule amount of free time.
Yeah.
So I like being able to get through things at a fairly brisk pace.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. It was a nice, like it was exactly what you want in a like a read that you would take on vacation. That's like what I mean when I say a summer read, like something that you would take with you and you would have, be reading it when you weren't beach combing or whatever people do on vacation.
Oh boy. And you know what, everybody, you're going to really enjoy certain parts of this book, especially when certain characters are talking to Abigor. Oh, no. Yeah. Let's just say I did like being reminded of, even with Planescape Torment, the talking skull, or even like in, again, Last Unicorn, the talking skeleton. Well, you'll get another vibe like that in this book too. Because again, whimsy is the key word here. You can mix and match whatever the heck you like in your book.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why a whole lot of different genres are stagnating in a way, because they're staying so rigid to, like, this is what's supposed to be in sci-fi. This is what's supposed to be in fantasy. You're not supposed to cross the streams.
Yeah.
I will cross those streams ever as much as I want.
Yeah. And even mediums here, like we're bringing in manga and anime influences and just enjoying having isekai and pulp rev sort of combine into something that takes some of the best elements of both, hammers them into something new.
Yep, and honestly, yeah, even if somebody's first starting off writing, it's okay to have a simple archetype. Really, it is.
Yeah.
Even if you look at all the big classics, or even the big, really big ones like Lord of the Rings, you can actually see where the simple themes around each characters connect. You know, like,
Yeah.
even look at something like Gollum, and like, he embodies greed. And,
Yeah.
and you go out from there. What else creates greed? Envy, you know, things like that. And that's what's good about this book. It's like you can see how he broke down a lot of these characters, especially if you are writing, you'll be able to catch up on what other people do for their style of writing. That's why I think it's important to try to get in as much reading as you can, even if it's a couple of chapters a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of keeping people in books, just um part of promoting indies should be promoting the idea of reading to people so that people stay in the habit of reading, because that's going to sell not just one author's books, but a whole shelf of authors.
Yep. And you know what? I even highlighted this one part. Shrapnel caught the captain in the head and he died instantly. You can make 1 or 2 bit characters that are red shirts to showcase, the escalation of a situation. They don't have
Yeah.
that much more thought than that.
Mm-hmm. Have you read um any of the um Light Unto Another World?
Yep, I'm actually up to the 4th one right now,
Nice.
because I'm actually rereading them because I forgot some of the smaller details. But honestly, those are even easier to reread than Galaxy Ascendant, even though I think people should buy Galaxy Ascendant also because I am biased and yay, space opera. Uh, But Yakov did a good job with just creating books that they're anywhere between like 150 to 250 pages, even
Yeah.
less than that in most instances. But they're good fun. He has simple archetypes. You can and a lot of people discount simple archetypes because they don't think it's complex or fleshed out enough. It's like that's fine. You don't need everybody to have like a 12-page backstory.
Yeah.
You really don't. Probably the most complex character I have in terms of convoluted for Upload Protocol is Eliza's brother, Dexter. Because I haven't showcased much of his end of the story, but people definitely felt the effects of his story. But, I'm mostly going to have all of his stuff in one of the novellas for later. Because if you see more stuff from his side of the story, you'll get a lot more spoilers. So, yeah. Oh, and I'm just wondering, like, maybe it's a common thread or trend of the postmodern where this character isn't realistic enough because they're not depressed enough, or they're not conflicted enough, or they're not flawed enough. But by
Yeah.
concentrating so much on that, you forget to add the good things that make a character more palatable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't have to relate to a character to want to follow them.
Right. I think my favorite types of character flaws, and I think we're getting sort of away from it in modern media, is when a character, you take a character's like virtues and crank them up so far, or apply them in a situation where they're inappropriate, and then that becomes the flaw. So it becomes a flaw comes out of the things that you like about them. And my favorite example is Samwise Gamgee, who is so loyal to Frodo that in a moment of great sympathy and longing in Gollum, he speaks inappropriately and shuts him out. There's a lot written about this scene, but it's not in the movie, so people forget about it.
Kind of like Tom Bombadil, which
Right.
Tom Bombadil is there to showcase that there's even more powerful entities in that realm than Saruman, or even though he likes to cloak himself in the many colors.
Yeah. um and not even necessarily more powerful, but um they're enduring.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he doesn't need or feel any compulsions by the ring because Tom Bombadil is that confident.
Yeah.
The ring showcases like some people's like most hidden either a desire out of those that are more evil, or the biggest worry that some of the good guys might have.
Yeah.
And there's Tom Bombadil where he's like, I'm perfectly balanced.
Yeah. Actually, I've already carved out my bit of heaven here. I've got my wife and my house, and I'm wearing the clothes that I like. What more can you give me?
Yep. Yeah, it was kind of indicated though that he would have forgotten about the One Ring had he kept it, and it would have been lost again, and then you'd have to worry about this happening like another 1,000 years from now. So it's a good thing Frodo kept the ring and kept going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah. I guess the biggest thing to say is like, yeah, if you just want simple adventure story, it won't require like umpteenth level of lore investment. It's just there to be a friend when you need it, or you need to keep your mind off the depressing news for like a couple hours.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is why I think the pulps did so well during the Depression. You know, it kept
Sure.
people's mind off of what was happening in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this thing is. This what this whole book is perfect for.
Yeah. It's good escapism for sure. In the good sense of escapism.
Yeah, it's like it's not there to be like, oh, this is how things should be or whatever. It's just there to let your brain rest for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you just gotta take a break and unplug from the internet.
Yes. Yeah. And sort of recharge your own willpower and determination to behave virtuously in a heroic manner in your own
here's,
kind adventures.
here's the other highlight. Okay, how do you tell if they're male or female? Because they're talking about the pandan. Ken whispered out of the side of his mouth. The females have pink noses. The men have black or brown noses. It's kind of like the dwarf women conundrum.
I thought that was a funny question to ask myself. Like, why are you just of all of the questions?
Yes, the females have the pretty pink noses. Yeah, that's a good step right there. Like it's enough to give you a great amount of giggles.
Yes. Yep.
But it's just there's just enough hamminess, like sheer ham, kind of like the level of ham that Galaxy Quest has, where they're just enough self-referential that it's just like, yeah, I get what you're trying to say here, and I approve.
Yes.
But see, that's the reason why I don't like the comp stuff either, because the comp stuff doesn't really compare what you're taking from X, Y, or Z property. Now, if you're doing like what I just did, where it's like the whimsy from this, the self-deprecating humor from that, then that makes more sense.
Yeah. It takes more words, but it speaks more into what people are looking for. Because I don't think people go around looking for X meets Y when they're searching for what to read next. I think they're looking for, oh, I wish I had the fun lighthearted adventure of an isekai without the the constant harem flirting.
The worst aspects of harem.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, the Army of Darkness level of ham. Yeah, I would say there's points where it gets that hammy.
Yeah. I feel like there is a pretty Army of Darkness special effect description at some point of some of the action, but now I can't remember.
Well, no, with Army of Darkness, the self-referential humor is definitely in full force in places, especially when it comes to like any undead foes. Constantly having Ken constantly remark on the makeup of the monsters they're facing and calling attention to certain kinds of plot points.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure, I could see that.
Yeah. And you know what? He does have his own version of a boomstick that fires rapidly.
Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of like weird visual effects, but because that's pretty over the top.
Oh yeah,
in my, but
and it does count for that too, especially once you start getting into some of the ship battles and what happens.
right.
Yeah. It's like, imagine putting a Sherman on a trebuchet and letting it fly. Ah, yes, I see. That's how ship combat is. Oh, wait.
Well, David has revealed that I hate Army of Darkness, and now I'm being called into question. So all of my opinions are suddenly need to be re-examined.
Honestly, it's more like a just personal wheelhouse taste. Some stuff will overlap with people. Again, some might find like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. But on the other hand, say if you're a hard sci-fi kind of like it has to be our world physics, then you probably won't enjoy this book much because it
Right.
does do some hijinks with the magic. But that's okay because again, that setting that Gun Magus set up is magic.
Yeah. Yep. And another aspect that to differentiate things that people might be looking for, if you're looking for not mages, if you prefer some of the like sword side of sword and sorcery, that's
Sword
not
and
really
sword.
too much in here. Partly because it's gun and sorcery, which is a really great combination here, and I'm not throwing flack at that at all.
Oh man. No, not lovely. These creatures are worthy of disgust and contempt. I was being sarcastic or sardonic. I can never remember which is which. I see. Yeah, so these guys do love to be self-deprecating, but it's not to the point where they drag themselves into the dirt. They're
Right.
very aware of their own hamminess. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like he does it like overkill, kind of like the even though it's a what like the Josh Whedon kind of stuff where it's snarky 24/7.
Yeah.
This doesn't to me feel like super snark. It's just they know who they are and they know how corny they can be too. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Jericho is pretty. He's always there with a good one-liner in the middle of the action, with puns um, and sometimes he's sarcastic, but it's not like you said, Joss Whedon-esque. It's not we're so cool because we can throw out these lines in the middle of action and um um it's much like like puns, right? It's the humor is much more lighthearted.
Yeah. This is either the absolute worst or the absolute best spell ever, Pock whined. It's like, yes. Each of those spells have a double-edged wonder. Because by the time you get to know Pock well enough, you're like, she likes to face certain things head on.
Yeah, I liked her a lot.
Of course, and her spider friend does happen to pull her back from the brink a couple of times. It's like, you might there might be another way about doing this. It's like, yes, I know you're cute, and yes, I know I'm cute, but in a way, it almost had that Sabrina the Teenage Witch with Salem kind of. But Mushy didn't talk as much per se in a way that
Yeah.
people could understand, but she could.
Yes. Yeah. I enjoyed the interactions between them.
Yeah, the whole thing with all the Whedon dialogue is eventually all those characters don't really have a distinct dialogue in and of themselves. They all are like constant pun machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not so with these guys. The jokes they make kind of reinforce their personality.
Yes. Yep. It's not everybody has the same snarky personality. Um, Ken has his humor that he gives out, and Poke has hers, and um, Zephyr has the kind of stuff that she says. So it's all very
Here you go. Here's the other one I
personalized.
did highlight. Good point, Pock said. Mushy chittered something. Of course I'm wary, Pock shot back, but don't be so pessimistic. So it's fun just getting these one-sided conversations she has with the spider.
Yes. It makes you feel like Mushy's actually cute.
And it's also the reason why I think they kind of have that same dynamic that Salem and Sabrina had. But in Salem's case, you can actually hear what he's saying back.
Yeah.
So in the case of this book, you can actually, if you want to, you can picture kind of like what her spider friend's telling her half the time.
Yeah.
And that lets the reader imagine things some more.
Yes.
Not everything has to be spelled out.
Right. Oh, I am fading.
It's fine. The only reason I've lasted this long because, guys, I drank those little espresso shots they sometimes have at stores.
Oh, yeah.
I drank one of those right as I was driving home, so I could be somewhat functional.
Nice. I've never tried those.
They give a pretty good kick if you don't use them too often, which is
Sure.
why I wait.
Yeah. Yeah, I said I was gonna have coffee and then I didn't. I ran out of time. But I feel like this has been a really good conversation.
Let's see. Tail
Anything
Theater. It's a superversive offering. As one that quests for the superversive, I give it 100% likability ratio.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed Gun Magus. I there's always people are talking about caffeine in the comments.
Yes. Everything runs on caffeine.
Everything that I review on Periapsis Press, I enjoyed and recommend. So, yes, this was good. Superversive, Pulp Rev, Iron Age, all of those. It's great. Anything you wanna finish up with? Anything we
Uh,
didn't get to?
I guess the biggest thing is, yeah, again, if you're more like into our world standard physics, this might not be the book for you because you can often tell where the pulp style stuff doesn't really mesh with people that are like, wait, why wasn't this the proper circumference of space flight?
Yep.
And it's like, I get having a certain amount of accuracy if you're going for that in your setting, but if you're not, why adhere yourself to that sort of ruling? You know?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I really like that kind of thing, but if it's not yours, then maybe give this one a skip and find, look around for another indie author that has more of what you're looking for, because there's a lot out there.
Like, for instance, Travis Cochrane for Australius. I'm probably butchering the name, but he has uplifted doggos in it and plenty of physics that a bunch of the nuts and bolts guys would appreciate.
Yeah.
But I was mainly there for the space dogs, not the uplifted space dogs of Earth. Yes.
Well, thank you guys all so much for coming. Thank you, Fiannawolf, for joining me and for doing this with me through the summer. I really enjoyed reading stuff and getting to talk to you about it. So
I'm just glad I got my voice back after the weeks. So again, I apologize that other video has my voice kind of rough, but I like my Bunny Man adventures on a cylinder station in the depths of space. But I also like this Bunny Man's adventures too. Double bunny seal of approval.
yes. Yeah, it was kind of funny how we sort of leapfrogged. The first book was a
Kit's book.
yeah, kids book. It was like
My brain, come on, brain. Swordbreaker.
yes. And it's like now I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation. It's like I want to say wuxia, wush, Wuxia.
Wuxia, I think.
Yes, that's probably the way that we would Americanize it with a K. And then Zhao Tu, the bunny warrior, had that same influence that rather than a Japanese samurai who's the wandering martial artist. And then this one takes the bunny warrior. So we had a little bit of overlap with all three. I thought that was fun.
It's okay. I'll be here to murder the English language every single day. Don't fear the typos.
And you guys check out the articles that I have up on Periapsis Press that are adjacent to this. The review is long form, and then there's an excerpt. So if you haven't read the book, you can kind of get a taste. And then we did an interview with NR LaPoint and sort of talked some more about some of the stuff that we've been talking about tonight. So, and then if you leave a comment, you'll get entered into the drawing. So
I'm a barn owl. Like I have my thing set up. I have to give grandma more of her stuff at 3 a.m. So it's like my parents rely on me to do such a thing because generally I fall asleep about 2:30.
Sure. You're still ready to go.
That's why I usually sleep till 11 a.m. and why I have night shifts at work or eat late evening shifts.
I have a baby who will be up at 8 o'clock at the latest. So
you could have a crack of dawn baby, which is like, it's 4:30 a.m. Time to cry the song of my people.
Well, that was a few months ago. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And I hope that you enjoyed it tonight and that you'll check out other stuff that we do going forward. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Bye.